I was just wondering if you can't remember a large part of your childhood, what do you do when you kind of...
If you can't what?
Remember a large part of your childhood.
Oh, of your childhood. Yeah, a lot of people can't because it was painful. And what happens is that as you develop your loving adult, see, the memories are in there. I assure you they're there.
You don't want them.
Well, that's a problem. Because your little girl needs you to know what happened to you. And she's not going to tell you if you don't want them. But as you develop your loving adult, you will want to know what happened. You will want to know where you got your beliefs. Because the past can be healed. It's not like it can't. But if you don't know about it, it's actually a big relief when people learn about their past. Because it makes things make sense. But the child is not going to tell you until she trusts that you want to know, and that you're going to care, and that you're going to be compassionate and believe her and do the healing work you need to do around the false beliefs. See, it's not even so much the memories themselves, but it's the beliefs we concluded around what happened that cause problems now. You don't have to relive pain. A lot of people think that if they remember, they have to relive pain. You do not need. In fact, it's re-traumatizing to relive pain. So you don't need to do that. And with people, I work with people who have had extreme trauma. And one of the techniques that I've used is called revivification. And that means that you see the memories on a screen so that you've got some separation from them. You don't have to feel them. You just have to see what happened and what you concluded by what happened. And once you get that, you can let the memories go into the background. You don't need to keep on dealing with them.
So for now, you would just go to the memory of what's wrong and deal with it from there, not needing to know where exactly she's upset, but just...
Well, no. See, most of what you feel now is present. So when you're going into feelings, you want to know what you're doing, how you're treating yourself. And then when we go down to, well, what's the belief? That's when that might open you up to the past. But people make an assumption that their pain is past, and most of it is not. Most of it is current regarding how we treat ourselves.
Okay, yeah, I was confused on that. I thought it was automatically in my past.
No, it's not at all. If you're treating yourself the way you were treated in the past, then you keep on re-traumatizing yourself. So you want to be looking at what's going on now. And then the past kind of opens up, and you get to see where you got the beliefs and where you got the role modeling. But that doesn't mean that you have to relive any pain. You don't have to. That is an old concept in psychology. It's a dangerous one because it just keeps re-traumatizing people.
That's where the resistance is.
Huh?
That's where the resistance is.
Yes, that's right.
I don't want her to hold it, but I also don't want to hold it.
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
It's really about understanding the beliefs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Is there a simple way to remember the 6 steps?
Pardon me?
Is there a simple, easier way to remember the 6 steps?
Well, actually, at the end, you're going to get a little 6-step card. And that's going to help you remember the steps. So it just takes practice. But if you carry the card with you, you can start to practice and remember. Yeah, they're actually very logical. You know, like... if you think about what you would do with a child, child's crying, what do? You go over, you want to know what's wrong, right? I mean, it's the same thing that we're doing on the inner level. And like I said, many parents, without even thinking about it, will say, well, how do I help my child? And they're getting ideas from spirit. And then they're taking some action. and seeing if that helps the child. It's really the same thing that we're doing on the inner level. It's just that we don't think about doing that for ourselves the way we would do it for an actual child.
I was just thinking about this during the lunch break. Often people say the past is the past. You need to let it go. That story is over and done with. And so if I'm just a little confused, because if I'm checking in with my wounded inner child and trying to revisit things that were done in the past, then I feel like I'm going to perpetually be a victim. I'm not letting that go.
The problem is that we don't let go of the past because we are continuing to treat ourselves in the way that we were treated in the past. And we're operating from belief systems that we absorbed in the past. And so saying, well, the past is the past, it doesn't really apply. The way that to really put the past into the past is to do what I've been talking about, that you go deeper into where did I get these beliefs? And are they really true? And what is true now? And, how am I treating myself based on what I absorbed in the past? And start loving oneself, and then the past goes into the past. It sounds like you want the mic again.
So I'm wondering, will we ever truly be fully integrated? Will I ever really heal?
Well, it's just a process, honey. I mean, people have this concept of getting there.
Right.
Okay? But, where is there? We're there anytime we're in a truly connected state. We're there. But we don't stay there. Most people don't stay there because they get triggered by different things that happen. And so the more you practice inner bonding, the more moments you have of being there. And it's just a process.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Jill, were you the one that was talking about procrastination?
No. I do struggle.
Oh, who was it? Oh, okay. Would you like to come up and do a session about that?
I totally thought you forgot about it.
I did not. I have a good memory. Never forget.
I'm going to take good notes because
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm going to start crying as soon as you open your mouth.
That's all right. You can cry all you want. Okay. So, what's an area in which you procrastinate?
Oh, I procrastinate about everything, even pleasurable things.
Okay, bring one up that you want to deal with.
What I want to deal with is really getting rid of the clutter in my house.
Okay, so you're a clutterer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I want you to imagine that you decide you want to get rid of the clutter. Okay? See if you can tune in to what do you feel as soon as you make that decision. What's going on inside of you?
I feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so breathe into the overwhelm. Get present with the overwhelm. And do you want responsibility for that overwhelm?
Okay.
Okay, now breathe into your heart and open to learning. And invite in the presence of love and compassion. And ask your little girl what you're telling her that makes her feel overwhelmed when you think about cleaning up the clutter. Then go inside to the part of you that feels overwhelmed. And what does she want to say to you?
If I get rid of things, I'm going to regret it.
Okay.
And also that it's a waste.
It's a waste. Okay. So tune into, how old were you when you got that concept that if I get rid of things, I'll regret it and it's a waste? How old do you think you were?
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, when did you start cluttering?
I've always been a collector, as long as I can remember, since 4 or 5 years old.
Okay, so there's a young part of you that said it's a waste and I'm going to regret it, right? Mm-hmm. And where do you think you got that idea at 4 or 5?
I probably threw out something and regretted it, or it got thrown away and I regretted it.
Okay, so you might have had a situation where you wished you hadn't have thrown something out. And you develop this belief that says if I throw it out, I'm going to regret it.
And it still seems today, every time I get rid of something, a month or 2 later I need it and I've got to go rebuy it.
Okay. And so that feels worse to you than having the clutter, that to go and have to rebuy it feels worse.
And I feel, we shouldn't have gotten rid of it.
Okay. So when you think about getting rid of the clutter, which obviously you said that's really important to me to get rid of the clutter, but there's something more important. And what's more important is to not throw out something that you're going to need at some point.
When I think about clutter right now, I'm thinking in particular of like, I went through all my jewelry and like ridiculous amounts of jewelry. And I think it's crazy that I bought all that stuff, you know?
Okay, but if you think about decluttering your jewelry, what do you feel?
I feel that it was wasteful, that I shouldn't have bought those things.
Okay, so then a judgment comes in.
Yeah.
So then your wounded self comes in, well, you shouldn't have bought it to begin with.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that sounds like it's more important to you than actually cleaning up your jewelry.
Well, I want to sell it. I want to try to sell things, but then I never get around to doing it, you know?
Okay, so when you think about selling, what are you telling yourself?
I don't want to have to deal with all the people that want to buy it.
Okay.
I just want someone to magically come and buy it.
So I want you to notice what's happening on the inner level here. Mm-hmm. There's one wounded part that says, I should be selling my jewelry. Mm-hmm. And there's another wounded part that goes into resistance and says, I don't want to have to deal with these people. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so imagine a power struggle. Imagine that the wounded self that says, I should be selling my jewelry is one end of a rope. And the one who says, I don't want to deal with people who would buy it is at another end of a rope. And you're each tugging. Mm-hmm. That's called immobilization. Right? And so nothing can happen. As long as one part is saying, this is what you should do, another part is saying, I don't want to do it. Right?
Right.
Okay. Now I'd like you to breathe into your heart. Just breathe into your heart. And open to your higher guidance. Do you have a connection with your guidance? Did you establish? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want you to ask, what is loving to me? What is in my highest good regarding the jewelry?
To just get rid of it. Donate it. Just get rid of it. It's not going to be enough money to matter, probably.
Okay.
It's not worth the aggravation.
Okay, so your higher guidance says, just clear it out, just donate it, just get rid of it. Okay. Now, what happened? Okay, you just went, Okay, so that was a wounded part that just said what?
I feel like I'm being lazy by not selling it. Also, that's another.
Okay, so that's another judgment. I'm lazy.
I'm being lazy because I need to take pictures and put it online and put descriptions and measure it. How long are they? How wide are they?
Okay.
I don't want it's a hassle. But
right.
There it sits, taking up the entire bed of the guest room, and it's driving me bonkers.
Okay, but again, look at the dynamic. You go to your guidance that says it's in your highest good to just pack up and donate it. Mm-hmm. You get a tax deduction or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay. But immediately your wounded self comes in there and says, oh, you're just lazy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Which voice are you going to listen to?
Unknown. Not sure. I should listen to.
There is no should. There is no should.
My highest It'd be for my benefit.
It just depends on your intention, honey.
Mm-hmm.
See? So the wounded voice is the voice of control, of fear, of lies. The voice of your guidance is the voice of love and truth. Mm-hmm. But your wounded self is coming in very quickly, mm-hmm. and you're listening to that voice, and that keeps you stuck. Now, if your intention is really to love yourself, what would you do?
I would get rid of it.
That's right.
Get rid of it.
That's right. Okay. So you have to see that you have a choice here, that you can either love yourself and get rid of it, mm-hmm. or you can protect and avoid and control and listen to the voice of the wounded self. Oh, you should be selling it, and you should you should do this, you should do that. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's obvious that what's loving to yourself is just to gather up what you don't want and donate it. Mm-hmm. Now, imagine doing that. Imagine just doing what your guidance says is in your highest good.
That's high anxiety.
Okay, so now tune into what did you just tell yourself that created the anxiety?
Maybe I could use them, the same old,
maybe what?
I always say, maybe I could use them again, the same.
Okay, so it's the same, I'm going to get rid of something I want, maybe I could use it again, okay. Mm-hmm. Which voice do you want to listen to?
Right.
See, the anxiety is your inner child letting you know that you've put your wounded self in charge again. If you were to imagine just gathering up what you don't use and donating it, and just asking your wounded self right now to step aside, just be quiet for a moment. Just say to her, honey, step back, you don't know what you're talking about. You're creating us being stuck, so just be quiet. And you just imagine donating it. Without that voice, what do you feel?
Relief.
Right.
Yeah,
relief. Okay.
Done.
The relief lets you know that is indeed what's in your highest good. So again, it comes down to your intention. Mm-hmm. Either your intention is to be loving to yourself and bring relief, or your intention is to control, I might give something away that I'm going to want, and to allow the wounded self to take over. That's what creates procrastination. See, if your whole focus were on loving yourself, you would just be asking your guidance and you would do it.
What about procrastinating about things like going to the gym, getting ready?
Okay, let's talk about going to the gym.
Doing my work stuff, that's driving me crazy.
Okay, which one do you want to deal with?
Let's think of the work stuff first.
Okay. So what's the issue with the work stuff?
So I'm going back to work in June. I'm a tour director, so I'm on the microphone on the bus all day talking about the history of the places I go. Have to have all my handouts ready, everything. I have nothing prepared. I'm not prepared. I don't even know where my stuff is. I don't even know where I threw it in November.
Okay.
It's in some closet.
So tune into the part of you that's saying, I have to get this done. I have to get this done. Right? How old is that part that is controlling and telling you what you have? 7. What was happening at 7? Were you?
I had to clean my room.
Okay. Okay.
Funny, I know what I mean.
Now we're getting down to where this started. And so, was it your mother that said you have to clean your room?
Yep.
And how did you respond to that?
Freaked out.
So you went into resistance. I don't want to be controlled by you.
Yes.
Okay. So now you've got your mother's voice in you. Your 7-year-old wounded self is saying, you have to get busy and find all that. You have to get to work.
Right.
And then you've got another part, or maybe the part that's saying you have to is older, maybe an adolescent, I don't know. But then you've got a 7-year-old that's saying, you're not the boss of me. I don't have to do what you want. I'm going to have a tantrum. And just goes into resistance, right?
Right.
Okay. So again, imagine the rope. You've got one part of you saying you have to get the work done. And you have another part of you saying you can't make me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as long as these two parts of your wounded self are in charge, you're stuck. You're immobilized. Now again, go to your guidance and say, What is in my highest good? What is loving to me?
What is loving to me is to get everything prepared so then I can relax.
Now, see if you can tune into what you want to do. Do you want to get everything prepared so you can relax?
I wanted to be prepared. I don't want to do it. I want it to miraculously happen.
Okay, but it's not going to.
Exactly. Yeah. I know, I have a lot of magical thinking.
So which is more important? Which is more important, to be relaxed or to not be controlled by your wounded self?
It's more important to be relaxed, but I do well with last minute panic.
Okay.
You know, last minute.
Okay, but then it's not more important. See, don't kid yourself. If it were more important to be relaxed.
Oh, I see, right, yeah.
Yeah, if it were more important to be relaxed, then you would go ahead and do it because you want to be relaxed. Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's more important to you to be in resistance to being controlled. See, we have to be honest with it. It's up to you, honey. It's just about what's your highest priority. See, we fool ourselves regarding our highest priority. You think your highest priority is to be relaxed. It's not. It's to avoid being controlled by the other part of your wounded self.
Interesting.
So as long as not being controlled by your own wounded self, by telling yourself, you should do this, you have to do this. See, those words are death for somebody who learned resistance as a kid. Should, have to. The only time that you're really going to get to it is when you find the place in you that wants to be relaxed by getting it done. It's a want, not a have to. We do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. But many people have learned to be resistant against what they should do or what they have to do.
So how do I get myself to want more?
See that again is you trying to get yourself to control. It's just what you want. It's just what's your highest priority.
So it's like a bad habit almost. I'm so habituated to the drama. It's like
it is a habit. No, yeah, but the thing that you're wanting is to not be controlled by your mother who's in you. Your mother's voice is in you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay? And your highest priority is to not be controlled by her. Okay? And you have to own that as long as that's your highest priority, you're going to resist. When your highest priority is to be loving to yourself and take care of it so that you can relax, it'll be easy for you to do. You will find it very easy to do.
So I need to think of it as you are giving yourself the gift of getting prepared in advance so you can relax.
Yes, because that's what I want. It's not a have to.
It will ultimately...
It's not a have to because you can wait. Mm-hmm. You can panic. You can do it the last minute. You can make resistance and not being controlled your highest priority. You have every right to do that. Oh my gosh. It is a choice.
All right, there's one other... That might be a game changer, thinking of it that way.
It is, once you really tune into what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing, I kind of feel weird saying this in front of everybody, but I mean, I'm on video, but another thing I procrastinate about, this is going to sound insane. This may be pathological. Like, if I have to go pee or something in the bathroom, I'll put it off and put it off and put it off. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to. It's like, still feels like I'm being told to do something.
That's right. And it's the same. No, it's not, honey. And you'd be surprised how many people have that issue with having to go to the bathroom. I mean, yeah, see? Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, this is not an unusual issue.
Really?
No, because your body is telling you what you have to do. And your 7-year-old is saying, you can't make me. You're not the boss of me. I don't have to. I know.
I feel annoyed.
But that's a 7-year-old, honey. That's not a loving adult. See, and so again, not being controlled in that situation is a higher priority than being loving to yourself. See, that's the underlying issue, is what the priority is. And because your mother was controlling, and because you hated being controlled, you dug in, and you're still digging in. And so not being controlled all these years has had a higher priority for you than being loving to yourself. Do you see that?
God, it's so simple when you say it, you know?
Well, yeah, but it's a very deep, deep issue to not want to be controlled. Mm-hmm. See? And that's the difference between, well, I have to go to the bathroom, or I want to because I'm going to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
When is
liberated.
It? Okay, so
liberated.
That's the relief. You see, that lets you know.
I feel like for the moment, ask me 5 minutes from now, but for the moment, like I don't feel a battle inside me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And anytime you do, you have to realize that those two parts of you are in that power struggle. Mm-hmm. And the intention is to control and not be controlled.
Right.
You see, one part wants control, the other one doesn't want to be controlled, and there you are stuck.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. How many of you found that helpful? Yeah. See, look, it's a very, very common issue. And it's one of the problems when parents are very controlling with their kids, because most of us just hate to be controlled. We just hate it. And we might give in certain situations, but then resist in others. And it follows so many people up into their adult lives where they just don't get that they're still having that internal power struggle going on. Stops them from doing what they really want to do and what's really loving to themselves. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah.
So I'm assuming all of us who have this issue, we have issues with our parents and the shoulds and you better. So what would it look like? What would a loving adult say to a child instead of, you better clean up your room, young lady? What does a loving adult say to that child to encourage that child to clean the room and not get into this control? Be control.
Well, you see, like with my kids, first of all, there were a lot of areas that I just didn't enter into. Like, for example, their schoolwork. I said to them when they first started school is your responsibility, not mine. If you want to do well, you can do well. If you don't want to, that's fine. I will love you either way. It's not my job, but if you need my help, you can ask me. And so, and I didn't know when they had homework or they had tests unless they asked me for help. And they were all self-motivated. So they all did really, really well because nobody was pushing them. With things like, let's say, brushing teeth, I said to them, I would remind them one time, and I said to them, if you get cavities because you didn't brush your teeth, you have to pay for them out of your, birthday money, holiday money, whatever. They knew the consequence. If you lose a jacket at school out of carelessness, you have to buy yourself a new one. They knew the consequences of it. Like bedtime. I never had any problems with bedtime because they knew that at a certain time, let's say 8 o'clock, I was available to spend time with each of them. Good time, reading time, talking time, connected time. They could go to bed any time they wanted, but if they wanted me there, they had to be ready at that time. And so they could do whatever they wanted. They could stay up as long as they wanted. They had to deal with the consequences of being tired. And each of my 3 kids tested it out one time. They were not happy with being tired. They did not like not having me there. And that was the end of it. So, it's not trying to control them. It's deciding what's loving to you. It was loving to me to give these consequences of them paying for their teeth or their jacket or not being available at any old time regarding bedtime or not being on their back about it. And then, like I taught them how to read a clock very young and how to set their alarm. It was their responsibility to get up. If they didn't get up in time, they would have to go in the carpool in their pajamas. It happened to one child one time, and that was it. Never happened again. Okay?
Yes. So from the parent's standpoint, the parent is no longer saying, "What are you doing to me? Look what you're doing to me.
That's right.
You're not sitting in your room, you're killing me." It's not that.
No, it's not.
Taken out of the
Yes, it's not. You're not taking it personally. You're just deciding what's loving to you and what the appropriate consequences would be, which is a very good way of teaching responsibility to children.
So how can we apply that to our inner child work? Can I say to myself, "Look, Danielle, if you go for a walk today, you're going to feel so good. You have a choice, and if you don't go..."
Yeah, but that's like you're talking to a child. You're the adult. You get to decide, do I want to take the walk and feel great?
Yeah, but I'm still resisting, that should.
Yeah, but then you have to realize that if you've got a should, you have put your wounded self in charge, not your loving adult. The loving adult never has a should. It's always a want to. So if there's a should. Pardon?
So do I want to take it?
Yes, do I want to?
And I should feel great.
Yes, do I want to? Yeah, I've been walking, 50 years every day, just about every day, up and down hills, and I want to. There's no struggle. I love it. So I don't have to force myself into it. I love how I feel when I'm outside. I do my inner bonding work. I love it.
I love it.
I love it. So of course I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I love. Okay, so let's move on now. Did we have another? Oh, okay, one more here.
I think she each have a question too.
Okay.
So the work that you did with that lady, it seems like we could all go through that process and it will take a while to identify. So what aspects can we look out for while we're doing, while we're navigating through that for any of us, or different, but not just procrastination, for anything. Like for some things, what I gather from that is like watch out for judgment by a wounded self, watch out for conflicting reasoning.
Yeah, but all of that is about control. Right. Judgment is about control. So the bottom line is there's a part of your wounded self that's trying to control you, and then there's a part that doesn't want to be controlled. And that's what you want to look for. There's many ways of trying to control, and judgment is one of them. Shoulding on yourself, you should do this, you got to do that. All of that is part of control. But that all comes down to intention. And that's why it becomes so important to become aware of your intention, because that governs everything else that happens. See, so if it was more important to her to not give something away that she would regret, then she would be stuck. But if it was more important to her to feel the relief of clearing stuff out, then she'll do it, because that's what's loving to her.
Yes. More specifically, what I was hoping to get is, while I'm navigating through anything, trying to understand it, so I'm looking out for judgment, and just to finally get to where you finally got to. So I'm looking for judgment, and I'm looking for, of course, the desire to learn, of course. What else?
Okay, but that's what we're going to be going through now.
Oh.
We haven't started the 6 steps yet, okay? Yeah, that's what we're going to be starting to do.
So I want to go back to that practice that you just did. So I think I resist
like for everything. Now that, thank you for that, because I just noticed, oh my gosh, that's me. So, especially at work, I've noticed that as soon as I get any should, say once I do should do A, B, and C, and then I revert back to really, really quick, and I make it a I don't want to. So I make it a, just because you said that I should do A, I'm going to do C, and I want to do C, and I justify myself. So now it's like programmed in me. As soon as someone says, you should do, hey, I want you to do this and this, it's not a should anymore. My inner dialogue is, I shouldn't do that. I should be doing B and C, and I know why, and this is why. And it's just, I have like a whole story.
Right.
So how to come out of that?
Okay, it's basically the same thing. See, if somebody tells me what I should do, what I do is I go inside, breathe into my heart, and go to my guidance and say, this is what they tell me I should do. What's in my highest good? See, I make it irrelevant to me whether somebody is trying to control me or not. I had very controlling parents, and I know what it's like to want to resist, but that doesn't feel good to me at this point in my life. And so I basically make it irrelevant. If somebody wants to control me, that's their issue. I don't get reactive. If somebody says, you should do this, or I want you to do this, or you better do that, I don't get reactive. I go in and say, is it in my highest good to do it, or is it in my highest good not to do it? And if it's in my highest good to do it, I'll do it. And if it's not loving to me to do it, then I say no. But I decide with my guidance. I don't allow what they're doing to put me into a reactive position. I don't allow them to define who I'm going to be at any given moment. Okay? So by going to my guidance and asking what's loving to me, then I am free of that dynamic. I am free. I don't care if they think they've controlled me or not. I don't care about it. I am free to do what's best for me. And that takes me completely out of that control resistance dynamic. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking how it might get tricky, personal relationship versus professional relationship.
It's the same thing. It's really the same thing. Whether it's personal or professional. I do the same thing. I go inside and ask if it's loving to me.
I know you're ready to move on, but
Yeah.
I really struggle with procrastination, and I had a highly critical, but very loving father. My issues are mainly with my mother, but my father, very perfectionist, but very critical. I have projects around my home that literally have sat for years, half completed, because I'm waiting on a now dead man to come along and finish them for me. Because he was a taskmaster when I lived with him. But as soon as, there was only one way to do things, and it was his way. And as I said, he was a perfectionist. So as I'm doing something, which he would give very specific instructions on how something is to be done, and as soon as I make an error, he would take it away from me, and he would complete the task because I messed up.
So you've got that voice inside of you now, Jill. You've got his voice in you.
Right, that you can't do it.
You can't do it.
So,
You're not.
say, my bathroom downstairs, I started removing the wallpaper, and it's half done, but as soon as I make an error, now there's only half of the
Okay, but what would your loving adult do? See, if you were not operating out of your wounded self, then it's fine to make mistakes. See, I say to my little girl, I don't care how many mistakes you make. I don't care how often you fail. I'm going to love you anyway. You see, and that gives me freedom. That gives me the freedom to fall on my face and make a fool out of myself and make mistakes and make errors. And we all need that freedom. You didn't grow up with that freedom, but you can give it.
Probably every room in my home has.
Okay, but you can give yourself the freedom now, Jill, by telling yourself it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. I will love you anyway. See, that's where you need to get to with your little girl. She needs to know that she can go ahead and do these projects and mess up, and you're not going to be your father. You're not going to be critical. You're not going to tell her she's done it bad or wrong. You're going to say, it's okay, I love you anyway. That loving you is not dependent on doing this project well.
First thing to say, you can do it. It's
Yeah.
okay.
And I want to encourage all of you, everybody, this is so important, to give yourself the room to mess up, to make mistakes, to fail. I mean, one of the things that has allowed me to be very risky in my life, and I have been a lot, is that it's 100% okay with me to fail. It's 100% okay with me to make mistakes and fall on my face and make a fool out of myself. I don't care, because my little girl knows that I love who she is, not because of what she does, not because of her accomplishments or anything like that, but who she is as a soul. And this is so important for your freedom to manifest what you want in your life, to complete what you want to complete, to express yourself, is to get yourself off the hook from having to do it right, of not being allowed to make mistakes. And only we can give this to ourselves. Nobody else can give it to us. How does that feel to you? Yeah, I can feel that there's a lot of emotion going on with that, right? Okay. Time to move on. Okay, I'd like you to take out page 3. And this is a detailed 6-step chart. So just look at step 1. This is the willingness to feel pain and fear and take responsibility for our feelings. So willingness means, to be willing means that you're willing to do whatever it takes to heal. That there's no conditions under which you're not willing to do the work that you need to do. It means that you're willing to take responsibility for your sense of safety, your sense of worth, your feeling lovable, for your joy, for your pain. That you're willing to take emotional responsibility as well as physical responsibility, as well as financial, as well as organizational, as well as spiritual, and as well as relational. These are the 6 areas that I have found that we need to be taking responsibility in order for our inner child to really feel well taken care of. Physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, organizational, and in our relationships. And some people show up really well in 1 or 2 of those areas. Like maybe you take really good care of yourself financially, but maybe you're not taking care of yourself emotionally or organizationally. That's what we're talking about the clutter, or not getting to work. That's not taking care of yourself on the level of organization. Being on time, keeping your environment workable, that's organizational responsibility. So the inner child feels worthy and loved and valuable when you want responsibility in these areas, and feels unloved and unimportant when you don't take that. So step 1 is, as you've seen, breathing in, using your breath to get inside your body, tuning in to what you feel on the physical level, because feelings generally show up physically. Like anxiety will show up as tightness in your stomach or in your throat, or depression might be a heaviness in your heart. So it shows up physically. So you want to be scanning your body on the physical level. And in order to really be responsible for your feelings, you have to be willing to finally feel the deeper core painful feelings that we all learned to avoid when we were little. The loneliness, the heartbreak, the grief, the helplessness over others, the sorrow over seeing people hurt each other. These are deep core painful feelings. And we need to be willing to feel them with compassion and learn how to be with them and let them move out of our being. Because if you're going to avoid those feelings, then you're going to be operating out of your wounded self. So feelings of the wounded self, I'll say this again, comes from your thoughts, your actions, that comes from the wounded self. Thinking lies, telling yourself things that are not true, taking actions that are hurtful to you. That causes our wounded feelings. And the core pain comes from our environment, how people treat us and what's happening in situations. So you want to start to tune into your body and notice, what are these physical sensations telling you? That's step one, is being present with your feelings so that you can start to learn about what they're telling you. And if you tune in and you feel peaceful and you feel excited and you feel energized and you feel joyful and you feel loving towards others, then you know you're taking really good care of yourself. That's what lets you know you're taking good care of yourself. Now, like I said, these feelings are a source of inner guidance. You can't actually know what's right or wrong for you unless you're in touch with your feelings. How are you going to know what's right or wrong for you if you can't feel it? This is our intuition. This is our inner knowing. This lets us know what's right and good for us and what's wrong and bad for us. So we need these feelings. We don't want to be numbing them out in any way. Now, there is a big difference between the feeling of aloneness and loneliness. Aloneness is when we've abandoned ourselves and the child feels just alone inside, just cut off and alone. Loneliness is a core feeling. That's when we want to connect with others. We want to share love. We want to have fun. We want to play. And there's nobody around to do it, or the person around is not available. It's a very hard feeling, but it's a very common feeling. And we need to be able to honor the feeling, have compassion for it, and then maybe take some action in order to find those people that we can connect to, rather than either be victims by always being alone or being with people who aren't going to connect with us. So, Tracy, on the board, thank you. We have a lot of false beliefs about pain that keep us from being willing to feel pain. So, what comes up for you when you think about being willing to feel pain? What are some of the false beliefs that you have about pain?
It's weakness.
It's weakness. It's weak to feel pain.
Rejection.
I'm going to be rejected if I feel pain. What else?
Like it's with no end.
There's no end. It's going to go on forever.
Nobody wants to hear about it.
Nobody wants to hear about my pain.
It'll make me crazy.
I'll go crazy. I won't be able to function. Anything else?
It doesn't fix anything, or?
Doesn't fit. What's the point? Why cry over spilt milk? Doesn't fix anything. Most of us actually grew up with these beliefs, and they may have been true for us, as like their pain might have been unending. So we needed to disconnect. Or we might have been rejected for our pain. But it's not true now. At least as far as loving ourselves. In fact, being willing to feel your pain is a sign of strength, not of weakness. And in fact, it's the only way that we can actually do anything about it, is if we're open to it and seeing what we're doing to cause it, or what's happening externally that's causing it. And so these beliefs stop people because they're locked in their false beliefs of the wounded self, but they actually don't apply today. They're not accurate today. Okay, thanks, honey. You can put that up on a wall somewhere. There's two kinds of pain. There's the pain that we're in, that's open pain. So this is when we're open to learning, and we want to learn from our pain. And our pain has so much to teach us. Then there's closed pain. That's the pain of a victim. That's poor me. Look what life is doing to me. Look what this person is doing to me. Look what God is doing to me. Poor me. That pain will go on forever. That's a stuck place. Because there's no intention to learn about what you might be doing to cause it, or what's happening with somebody else that you need to attend to. And so victim pain is a very stuck place. And it's coming from the wounded self. You're just totally closed up when you're in victim pain. You don't want any responsibility for your feelings when you're in that pain. And that's what causes suffering.